The Inner Game. Winning Starts Within. Written and published by Vox Reads. Introduction. The battle no one sees. Every victory begins long before the world notices, before the applause, before the success, before the reward. It begins in silence, in the private arena of the mind. This book is about that unseen battle, the one between who you are and who you could become, between your doubts and your discipline, between your fears and your faith. You see, life isn't won in the stadium. It's won in your thoughts, your emotions and your decisions, the quiet places where no one is watching. That's where the inner game takes place. The outer world only reflects how well you've played inside. If the inner game is strong, challenges become opportunities. If it's weak, even small problems feel impossible. That's why real growth starts from within. Because the world can only rise to the level of your mindset. This audiobook is designed to help you strengthen that mindset, to give you tools to think clearly, to stay grounded when life feels chaotic, to develop the inner discipline that makes progress inevitable. Across these chapters you'll explore the habits, beliefs and mental frameworks that separate ordinary lives from extraordinary ones. You'll learn how awareness builds control, how self-talk shapes identity, how focus creates momentum, and how discipline bridges the gap between knowing and doing. Each lesson is practical, each idea is simple, but when practiced daily, they form the foundation of unstoppable growth. This is not a book about motivation alone. It's a guide to mastery, mastery of the self, because the person who wins within cannot be defeated without. So as you listen, take your time, let every idea sink in, reflect, pause if you need to. This is your journey, your training ground, your personal arena. You don't need to be perfect. You just need to be aware. You just need to begin. Remember, the real victory is not about beating others. It's about becoming the best version of yourself. And that begins now, in the inner game where winning truly starts within. Chapter 1. The Mind as the Arena. Every great victory begins in the same place. The mind. Before an athlete steps onto the field, before a leader makes a decision, before an artist creates a masterpiece, there is a battle that takes place inside. That battle determines how everything else unfolds. The mind is the arena, where every dream is tested, every doubt is challenged, and every strength is revealed. Imagine standing in that arena. The lights are not from a stadium, but from the thoughts you entertain. The crowd is not made of people, but of your own emotions, cheering or booing depending on what you believe. In this space, your mind becomes the stage where you either win or lose long before action begins. The invisible battlefield. Most people spend their lives trying to control what happens outside. They focus on circumstances, luck, and opportunity. But the real game isn't out there. It's in here. In the quiet moments when you're alone with your thoughts. You can't always control what happens to you, but you can control how you interpret it. And that interpretation shapes your entire life. Two people can face the same challenge. One sees defeat, the other sees a lesson. The situation is the same, but the mindset makes the difference. The mind, when trained, becomes your greatest ally. When left untrained, it becomes your fiercest opponent. It can either build your future, or sabotage it before it begins. The power of inner dialogue. Think about the way you talk to yourself each day. When you fail, do you hear encouragement or criticism? When you hesitate, do you remind yourself of your strength or your weakness? Your inner dialogue sets the emotional tone of your life. A mind filled with negative self-talk becomes a noisy battlefield. It's hard to make progress when your thoughts are constantly against you, but when your inner voice becomes supportive, honest and disciplined, your actions naturally align with your goals. You don't need to silence every doubt. You just need to speak louder with belief. Tell yourself the truth, but tell it with faith. Say, I can improve. Say, I will learn. Say, this challenge will make me stronger. That's not blind positivity. It's mental leadership. The ability to direct your thoughts where you want them to go instead of letting them run wild. A story of two players. Picture two athletes preparing for the same competition. They've trained equally hard. They've eaten the same meals. They know the same techniques. The difference: one walks into the arena saying, I hope I don't mess this up. The other walks in saying, I've earned my place here. I'm ready. The result is decided before the whistle blows. One plays to avoid failure. The other plays to express mastery. The second athlete understands that performance is a reflection of inner state. That's the power of mindset. It determines whether you're reacting to fear or responding with confidence. Awareness as the first step. Winning the inner game starts with awareness. You must become conscious of what's happening in your mind before you can direct it. Many people go through life reacting on autopilot, replaying old stories, feeding doubts and reinforcing limits without even realizing it. Awareness is like turning on the lights in the arena. You start to see the patterns, the habits, the triggers, the beliefs that shape your behavior. And once you can see them, you can change them. Start noticing the moments when your mind drifts toward fear or comparison. Pause. Breathe. Ask yourself, what am I focusing on right now? That simple question can interrupt negative momentum and bring you back to control. Training the mind daily. Just as your body needs exercise, your mind needs training. You wouldn't expect to build muscle after one workout, and you can't build mental strength after one good thought. Training the mind is a daily process, a routine of feeding it the right input and disciplining it through repetition. Here's how you start. Each morning, direct your focus intentionally. Decide what kind of mindset you want to carry into the day. You might say, today, I choose patience, or today, I choose courage. That single decision sets the tone for everything else. Then, throughout the day, practice catching negative thoughts early. Don't wrestle with them. Replace them. Swap I can't for I'll try. Swap this is too hard for this is my opportunity to grow. Your thoughts are like weights. The more you lift the right ones, the stronger you become. The mind is a creative force. Your mind doesn't just react to life. It creates it. Every invention, every achievement, every change began as a thought. Before the airplane, there was a thought that humans could fly. Before the cure, there was a thought that healing was possible. Before every personal breakthrough, there was a thought that said, what if I can? That's the power of mental vision. When you feed your mind with ideas of possibility, it starts finding ways to make them real. When you fill it with fear and doubt, it finds evidence to confirm those too. Your mind works in service to your dominant belief. So choose those beliefs wisely. From chaos to clarity. At times your mind will feel like a storm full of noise, distractions and emotions pulling you in every direction. That's normal. The goal isn't to eliminate the storm. It's to find stillness within it. Clarity doesn't come from trying to control every thought. It comes from observing your thoughts without judgment. From creating space between what happens and how you respond. In that space lies your freedom. The power to choose a better reaction, a better story, a better outcome. Closing reflection. The mind truly is the arena. the space where your future is shaped, moment by moment. You can't outsource this battle. You must step into it, equipped with awareness, belief, and discipline. Remember this truth: if you master the inner game, the outer game will follow. No challenge will be too large, no failure will be final, and no dream will be out of reach. So as you move forward in this journey, begin with this simple commitment to take responsibility for your inner world, because once you do, everything else begins to fall into place. Chapter 2. Awareness. Seeing the invisible game. There's a game you've been playing your whole life, whether you realize it or not. It's invisible. It happens in every moment, with every thought, every reaction, and every choice you make. It's the game of awareness. Awareness is where personal transformation begins. It's the ability to see what's really happening, not outside of you but within you. It's the quiet understanding that every feeling, every response, every habit, begins first as a signal in your mind. The question is, are you noticing those signals, or are you letting them control you in silence? The blind spot within. Most people live without awareness. They move through the day reacting to circumstances. They get upset, but they don't ask why. They make decisions, but they don't notice the thoughts guiding them. Life becomes a pattern, familiar, repetitive, and automatic. Without awareness, you become a passenger in your own story. You think you're steering, but in truth you're just reacting. And that reaction is often shaped by old beliefs, past wounds and unexamined fears. Imagine driving a car with fogged windows. You can still move forward, but every turn is uncertain. That's what life feels like without awareness. Movement without direction. Awareness clears the fog. It gives you vision, control and understanding. The moment you notice. The power of awareness starts with a single moment. The moment you notice. You notice when you're angry. You notice when you're comparing yourself to others. You notice when you start making excuses. That moment of noticing is the beginning of change, because you cannot fix what you refuse to see. Awareness turns unconscious behavior into conscious choice. It gives you the power to pause. And in that pause everything shifts. Think about it. The person who pauses before reacting holds more strength than the one who reacts instantly. That pause is awareness in action. A small gap between emotion and response. And in that gap lies freedom. The mirror effect. Awareness acts like a mirror. It reflects the truth, even when it's uncomfortable. When you become aware, you start to see patterns that have been running your life in the background. You see how fear hides behind perfectionism, how insecurity hides behind arrogance, how procrastination disguises itself as planning. This isn't about judging yourself. It's about understanding yourself. Awareness doesn't condemn. It clarifies. It says, here is what's happening. Now you have a choice. The mirror may show you what you don't want to see, but it also shows you what you can become. And that's where growth begins. A story of two reactions. Imagine two people facing the same event. Both lose a job unexpectedly. One person falls into despair. They blame the company, the economy, and the world. They see only loss. The other person pauses. They feel the pain, but they also observe it. They ask, what can I learn from this? What is this teaching me about myself? That single moment of awareness transforms the experience. It changes reaction into reflection and reflection into growth. Both felt the pain, but only one gained the wisdom. Awareness doesn't remove difficulty. It reframes it. And reframing turns chaos into clarity. Living consciously. To live with awareness is to live consciously. It means you stop moving on autopilot. You begin to direct your thoughts instead of being directed by them. You take responsibility for how you feel, what you say, and what you do. Start small. Notice how you speak to yourself. Notice how your body reacts when you feel fear or excitement. Notice when you're present and when you're drifting. Awareness grows with observation. Every time you catch yourself before reacting, you strengthen that inner muscle. Over time it becomes natural. You begin to sense when your thoughts are helpful and when they are harmful. You begin to feel the difference between truth and illusion. That is what it means to become self-aware, to be awake in your own life. Awareness and emotional mastery. Awareness is also the foundation of emotional control. You can't manage what you can't see. Emotions are powerful forces. They can guide you or mislead you, but awareness allows you to read them clearly. When you feel anxious, awareness asks, "What am I afraid of right now?" When you feel angry, awareness asks, "What value of mine is being challenged?" When you feel unmotivated, awareness asks, "What story am I telling myself?" These questions turn emotion into information. They turn chaos into clarity. And when you can interpret your emotions instead of drowning in them, you begin to lead yourself with wisdom instead of impulse. The art of self-observation. Becoming aware doesn't mean you must always analyze everything. It means you learn to watch your thoughts like clouds passing in the sky. You notice them without attaching to them. You understand that thoughts are not commands. They are suggestions. You can observe a thought like, "I can't do this," and instead of believing it you can simply say, "That's interesting. Why do I think that?" This calm observation gives you distance and perspective, and distance gives you control. Through self-observation you begin to see that you are not your thoughts. You are the thinker behind them. That realization alone changes everything. Awareness as a daily practice. Awareness is not something you achieve once. It's something you practice every day. Like a muscle, it grows stronger through use. Here are a few simple ways to train it. Start the day with reflection. Before reaching for your phone, ask yourself, "What do I want to focus on today?" Take mental pauses. Throughout the day, stop for a few seconds and ask, "Where is my attention right now?" Review before sleep. Gently reflect on your day. Notice when you acted with awareness, and when you drifted into reaction. You're not judging yourself. You're training yourself to notice. Each small moment of noticing builds awareness into a lifelong habit. Closing reflection. Awareness is the gateway to mastery. It reveals the invisible game that has always been running in the background of your life. When you become aware, you stop being a victim of thought and emotion. You become the director of them. Remember this truth. You can't change the world around you until you first understand the world within you. And the first step to that understanding is awareness. Simple, honest, moment-to-moment awareness. Because once you can see the invisible game, you can finally start to play it with purpose. And that's where winning truly begins. Chapter 3. The Power of Self-Talk. There's a voice that speaks to you every single day. You hear it when you wake up. You hear it when you make a mistake. You hear it when you chase a goal or face a setback. It never stops talking. That voice is your self-talk, the constant conversation you have with yourself. It shapes how you think, how you feel, and how you act. It's invisible to everyone else, but it's the most powerful influence in your life. Your self-talk can be your greatest coach, or your harshest critic. It can lift you or limit you. It can build courage, or plant fear. And the quality of that voice determines the quality of your life. The voice that builds or breaks you. Imagine you're about to start something new, maybe a project, a performance, or a difficult conversation. Before you even take action, your mind starts talking. It says, "You've got this," or it says, "You're going to fail." That one sentence changes everything. If the voice supports you, your body relaxes. You move with confidence. If it criticizes you, your energy tightens. Doubt creeps in. You hold back. Nothing outside has changed. Only the story inside. That's the power of self-talk. The words you tell yourself are like seeds. Plant doubt, and you grow hesitation. Plant belief, and you grow courage. Over time, those words shape your entire mindset. How the inner voice is formed. Your self-talk didn't appear overnight. It was built from years of experiences, lessons, and voices you once heard from others, parents, teachers, friends, even strangers. Every word spoken about you left a trace. If those words were empowering, they became confidence. If they were critical, they often turned into self-doubt. But here's the good news. Your self-talk isn't fixed. You can rewrite it. You can teach your inner voice to speak differently. And when you do, your reality begins to change. You can't always choose what happens to you, but you can choose the story you tell yourself about it. That story becomes the difference between giving up and growing stronger. Reframing the inner dialogue. Changing your self-talk begins with awareness. Listen to what your inner voice says throughout the day. When you face a problem, do you say, "I can't do this"? Or do you say, "I'll figure it out"? The first phrase shuts your mind down. The second one opens it up. Self-talk is not about pretending everything is perfect. It's about speaking truth with strength. Instead of saying, "I'm terrible at this," say, "I'm still learning." Instead of saying, "This is impossible," say, "This is challenging, but I can grow through it." Every time you reframe your words, you reshape your reality. You're not denying difficulty. You're choosing a mindset that helps you face it. A real-world example. Consider a young athlete preparing for a championship game. She's trained for months, but now the pressure is intense. Her inner voice starts whispering, "What if I fail? What if I make a mistake?" Her hands shake. Her confidence fades. Now imagine she changes the dialogue. She takes a deep breath and says, "I've trained for this. I'm ready. I'm going to give my best." The situation is the same. The difference is the voice. And that shift in tone changes her entire performance. The mind follows the words it hears most often. So if you want to play strong in life, you must train your inner voice to lead, not to fear. The science of words. Modern psychology confirms what ancient wisdom has always taught. Your words shape your brain. When you speak positively, your mind releases chemicals that improve focus, energy and motivation. When you speak negatively, it triggers stress and resistance. Your self-talk literally rewires your thinking patterns. It builds new mental pathways that either support growth or reinforce limitation. That means every thought is practice. Every word is training. You're either strengthening your inner coach or empowering your inner critic, moment by moment. Turning the inner voice into a coach. To build a winning inner voice, treat yourself like you would a friend. You wouldn't tell a struggling friend, "You're worthless." You'd say, "You're learning. Keep going." So why not speak to yourself with the same compassion? Encouragement isn't weakness. It's wisdom. It keeps you balanced, motivated, and focused. Try this. When you fail, replace "I blew it" with "That was a lesson." When you hesitate, replace "I can't do it" with "I'll take one step." When you succeed, replace "I got lucky" with "I earned this." Small changes in words create big changes in identity. Soon your mind starts believing what it hears, and your actions follow. Breaking negative loops. Negative self-talk often runs in loops. It repeats old fears and failures. The key is to interrupt those loops early. When you catch yourself thinking, "I always mess up," stop and breathe. Ask, "Is that really true?" Then replace it with something grounded but hopeful. "I've made mistakes, but I'm improving." That one sentence doesn't erase the past, but it rewrites the pattern. It tells your brain to look for progress instead of proof of failure. Over time, that becomes your new default. Strength instead of shame. Daily self-talk practice. Like any skill, positive self-talk needs practice. Here are 3 simple ways to train it daily. Morning setup. Start your day with intention. Say out loud, "I can handle what comes today. I choose focus and growth." This sets your mental direction before the world does. Midday reset. When stress builds, pause for 10 seconds. Repeat, "I'm calm, I'm capable, I can adjust." This centers your emotions and clears your focus. Evening review. Before sleep, reflect on the day. Instead of saying, "I didn't do enough," say, "I did my best, and I'll do better tomorrow." This builds self-respect and peace of mind. Simple spoken sentences, repeated consistently, can transform the way you experience yourself and your world. Closing reflection. Your self-talk is not just background noise. It's your internal compass. It decides how you see yourself, how you approach challenges, and how far you go in life. You will always hear a voice inside you. You can't silence it, but you can shape it. You can turn it into a guide that helps you rise, rebuild, and believe. Remember this truth. Your outer world listens to the language of your inner world. So speak strength. Speak vision. Speak growth. Because the words you whisper to yourself today become the world you live in tomorrow. Chapter 4. Belief Systems. The Silent Coach. Every person walks through life guided by an invisible coach. You can't see it. You can't touch it. But it speaks to you every single day, through your thoughts, your decisions, and your reactions. That coach is your belief system. It shapes how you see the world, and how you see yourself. It whispers what's possible, and what's not. It sets the limits of what you attempt, and it determines how far you go before you stop. Your beliefs are the foundation of your inner game. They define how you interpret life, and whether you realize it or not, they are the rules by which you play every invisible match within your mind. The unseen blueprint. Think of your belief system as a blueprint for your life. Everything you do, your habits, your goals, your confidence, is built on it. If the blueprint is strong and clear, you build with purpose. If it's weak or flawed, no amount of effort can hold the structure steady. The danger is that most people never examine their blueprint. They live by beliefs they never chose. Beliefs passed down by parents, culture, experiences, or past failures. They live by stories like, "I'm not good enough," "I'll never succeed," "People like me don't get lucky." And because beliefs shape perception, those stories quietly become self-fulfilling. The world seems to confirm what you already believe. You start noticing evidence that matches your fears, and without realizing it, you keep coaching yourself into the same results. The origins of belief. Beliefs are not facts, they're interpretations. They often start as single experiences that we mistake for truth. Maybe someone once told you that you weren't smart enough. Maybe you failed at something when you were young. Maybe life didn't give you what you hoped for, and disappointment turned into a worldview. Over time, those small experiences build emotional weight. They create rules inside your mind, quiet commands that say, don't try again, or stay where it's safe. But those rules were written when you didn't have the knowledge or strength you have today. They no longer serve you. To grow, you must rewrite those rules. You must question the coach that lives inside you. The power of belief in action. Beliefs are not just ideas. They're instructions. They tell your mind what to look for, what to avoid, and how to react. If you believe you can't lead, you'll hesitate when opportunities appear. If you believe you're not worthy, you'll reject love and success even when they're in front of you. But when you believe you can learn, grow, and adapt, your behavior shifts. You start taking chances. You start showing up. You start creating momentum. A strong belief system doesn't mean you ignore reality. It means you interpret reality through the lens of possibility. You say, this is difficult but not impossible. You say, I've failed before, but I can learn again. That's the voice of a silent coach working in your favor. A simple story of transformation. Imagine a man who once struggled to speak in public. He froze every time he stood in front of a crowd. In his mind he believed, I'm not a good speaker. So each time he tried, that belief whispered louder. One day he decided to test it. He joined a small speaking group. He still stumbled, but instead of quitting, he chose a new belief. I can get better. He practiced. He learned. He improved. Months later, he spoke with confidence. Nothing magical happened. He simply changed his belief, and that new belief coached his mind to behave differently. Your results change the moment your beliefs do. It's not luck. It's not chance. It's alignment. Identifying your limiting beliefs. To change your life, you must first identify the beliefs that limit it. Ask yourself, what do I believe about success? What do I believe about myself? What do I believe about failure? Listen carefully to your answers. If you hear thoughts like success isn't for me, or I'm not the type to win, recognize that these are not truths. They are patterns. They are beliefs that have been repeated so often that they sound like facts. Awareness is the first step. You can't replace what you can't recognize. Once you see a belief clearly, you can challenge it and choose something better. Reprogramming the silent coach. Changing beliefs isn't about forcing positivity, it's about introducing new evidence. Every time you take small, consistent action, you give your mind proof that a new reality is possible. If you believe I can't stay disciplined, start by keeping one small promise to yourself. When you do, the mind adjusts its message. It says, maybe I can. Do it again, and it says, I am doing it. Repeat it long enough, and it says, this is who I am. That's how belief transformation works, through repetition and proof. The silent coach rewrites its rules when your actions show it a new truth. The two coaches inside you. Inside your mind, there are two coaches. One speaks from fear, and the other speaks from faith. The fearful coach says, be careful, stay small, don't risk pain. The faithful coach says, try again, grow, you are capable. You can't eliminate the first voice, but you can choose which one to follow. Every time you take action aligned with growth, you strengthen the second voice. It becomes louder, clearer, and more natural. Soon it becomes the default. And when that happens, your belief system starts guiding you toward opportunity instead of retreat. The belief-behavior connection. Beliefs don't just stay in your head. They show up in your behavior. If you believe you're confident, you stand taller. If you believe you're valuable, you speak with authority. If you believe you can change, you act with consistency. That's why belief work isn't abstract. It's practical. It's the difference between trying and committing, between reacting and leading, between surviving and thriving. Change your beliefs, and your body language, tone and decisions all begin to shift. You become a new kind of player in the inner game. Closing reflection. Your belief system is your lifelong coach, the one that never stops speaking. It can keep you trapped in the past, or guide you toward your potential. But here's the truth. You are the coach behind the coach. You decide what that inner voice says. You decide which rules it follows. And you decide when it's time to change the game plan. So start today. Question every thought that limits you. Replace it with one that leads you forward. Then act on it until it becomes real. Because when your beliefs align with your vision, life stops feeling like resistance and starts feeling like momentum. And that's when your silent coach turns into your greatest strength. Chapter 5. Emotional Control. Mastering the Storm. There will always be storms. In life, in work, in relationships. No matter who you are, emotions will rise and fall like waves in the sea. You can't stop them, but you can learn to navigate them. Emotional control doesn't mean you never feel anger, fear, or sadness. It means those emotions no longer control you. It's the strength to remain steady when the world around you shakes. It's the ability to respond with wisdom instead of react with impulse. It's the art of mastering yourself, even in chaos. This chapter is about learning to become calm in the middle of your own storm. Because the person who controls their emotions controls their direction. The nature of the storm. Emotions are powerful. They color your thoughts, your decisions, and your energy. They can make you move mountains, or they can make you run from shadows. When emotions take over, logic fades. You say things you don't mean. You make choices that hurt your long-term goals. You give away your power to the heat of the moment. But here's the truth. Emotions are not enemies. They are messengers. They tell you what's important, what you value and what needs attention. The problem comes when you mistake the message for the truth. Anger says, something feels unfair. Fear says, something feels uncertain. Sadness says, something feels lost. When you learn to hear the message instead of being consumed by it, you begin to master the storm. The pause between feeling and reaction. Emotional control begins in one place. The pause. That short space between feeling and reaction is where all your power lives. Most people skip that space. They feel, then they act. They let the wave carry them wherever it wants to go. But the masters, the calm-centered people you admire, they live in the pause. They feel the same emotions but they respond instead of react. They take a breath. They let the emotion settle. They choose their next move with clarity. That pause is not weakness. It's strength disguised as stillness. It's what separates those who drift from those who lead. A real example of control. Imagine a leader facing a tense meeting. Voices rise. Accusations fly. Inside she feels the fire. Frustration, maybe even anger. Her heartbeat quickens. Her mind begins to race. But she doesn't react. She breathes. She grounds herself before speaking. When she finally responds, her words are calm, direct and focused. The tone of the room changes. Others begin to mirror her composure. The storm that could have grown into chaos is disarmed by one person's control. That's the power of emotional mastery. It influences not just your world but the worlds around you. Understanding triggers. To master your emotions, you must understand your triggers. A trigger is any situation that instantly sparks a strong reaction. It could be criticism, rejection, failure, or even silence. Each trigger is a doorway to understanding yourself better. When you notice yourself reacting intensely, pause and ask, what's being touched here? Is it pride? Is it fear of not being good enough? Is it a memory from the past? Most emotional overreactions come from old wounds, not the present moment. By identifying them, you separate the now from the then. That's how you begin to heal, not just react. The power of naming emotions. A simple but powerful technique for emotional control is naming what you feel. When you label an emotion, you reduce its power. Say to yourself, I'm feeling angry, or I'm feeling anxious. By naming it, you create distance between you and the feeling. You move from I am angry to I'm experiencing anger. That small shift reminds you that the emotion is temporary. It's something you have, not something you are. And because it's temporary, it can pass. This technique is more than a trick. It's emotional awareness in action. It brings your attention from chaos back to clarity, choosing your state. You can't always control how you feel, but you can choose how long you stay there. Emotions are like visitors. They arrive, they speak, and they leave. The mistake is inviting them to stay forever. When frustration comes, listen, then let it go. When fear knocks, acknowledge it, then act anyway. When sadness visits, honor it, then remind yourself of what remains. Choosing your state doesn't mean denying emotion. It means directing it. It means saying, I feel this, but it will not define me. That choice is the essence of inner power, building emotional endurance. Just like muscles, emotional strength grows through training. Every time you stay calm under pressure, you build endurance. Every time you respond instead of react, you strengthen resilience. Every time you face discomfort with composure, you expand your capacity. Start small. Practice calmness in daily frustrations, traffic, delays, disagreements. Use those moments as training sessions for the bigger storms ahead. Because when life tests you deeply, you'll already be prepared. You can't wait for peace to learn control. You must practice control to find peace. Transforming emotion into energy. Here's a secret. Emotions are energy, and energy can be redirected. Anger can become focus. Fear can become alertness. Sadness can become empathy. Every emotion carries a hidden potential, if you choose to channel it. When you feel strong emotion, ask, how can I use this? Anger can fuel determination. Fear can sharpen awareness. Pain can deepen understanding. Emotional mastery doesn't suppress energy. It redirects it toward purpose. A calm mind in a chaotic world. In a noisy, fast-paced world, calmness has become a superpower. The calm mind sees solutions others miss. It listens when others argue. It thinks when others panic. That calmness doesn't come from being emotionless. It comes from being emotionally intelligent, from knowing yourself deeply enough that external chaos doesn't dictate your inner state. When you master emotional control, you stop being a victim of moods and start becoming the author of your peace. Closing reflection. Emotional control is not about silence. It's about strength. It's the ability to feel fully and still choose wisely. It's the discipline of the heart. Remember this truth. You cannot calm the storm outside until you calm the storm within. When you master yourself, the world begins to follow your rhythm. Your energy becomes steady, your focus sharp, your spirit grounded. You become the eye of the storm, peaceful, centered, unshaken. And from that place you can face anything life brings your way. Chapter 6. Discipline. The bridge between thought and achievement. There's a bridge that connects your thoughts to your results. It's not made of luck or talent. It's not built from motivation that fades after a few days. That bridge is called discipline. Discipline is the quiet force that turns ideas into reality. It's the decision to act even when you don't feel like it. It's what transforms someday into today. Without it, dreams stay distant. With it, everything becomes possible. This chapter is about understanding discipline, not as punishment, but as freedom. Freedom from distraction, from regret, and from inconsistency. Because when you master discipline, you gain control over your life. The myth of motivation. Many people wait for motivation before they move. They say, "I'll start when I feel ready." But readiness rarely comes. Motivation is emotional. It rises and falls like the tide. If you rely on it, your progress will always be unstable. Discipline is different. It doesn't ask how you feel. It simply asks what needs to be done. The truth is, discipline begins where motivation ends. It's what carries you through the days when excitement is gone. It's the muscle that moves you when emotion won't. Motivation inspires you to start. Discipline ensures you finish. The law of small consistency. Discipline is not about doing everything at once. It's about doing the right thing consistently. Small actions, repeated daily, create massive transformation over time. Think of a drop of water falling on stone. One drop changes nothing, but over time those drops carve valleys. That's what discipline does. It shapes you quietly, but powerfully. A single act of discipline may seem small. Waking up early, reading one chapter, taking one walk. But each act says something deeper. I am in control. And that belief, repeated daily, builds a life of progress. The inner resistance. Every time you try to be disciplined, resistance appears. It's that inner voice that says, "Do it later, or you deserve a break." It's sneaky, reasonable, and convincing. But here's the secret. Resistance isn't a sign you're weak. It's a sign you're growing. It shows up whenever you try to cross the line between comfort and change. To master discipline, you must expect resistance. When it arrives, don't argue with it. Just act anyway. Discipline doesn't require feeling ready. It requires doing what matters despite the feeling. Every time you win that small internal battle, you strengthen the bridge between your thoughts and your goals. A story of two paths. Picture two people with the same dream. To get in shape, the first one starts strong but stops whenever it gets difficult. They say, "I'll try again later." The second one doesn't wait to feel inspired. They show up, even tired, even busy, even unmotivated. Days pass. Progress is slow, but they stay steady. Months later, one has excuses, the other has results. The difference isn't potential, it's discipline. Discipline turns effort into identity. It builds the habit of showing up no matter what. Emotion versus commitment. Emotions fluctuate. Commitment endures. Discipline is the expression of commitment. When you act based on emotion, you live by impulse. When you act based on commitment, you live by principle. There will be mornings you don't want to start, days when you feel tired, and moments when progress feels invisible. But discipline doesn't demand perfection, only persistence. It whispers, "Do a little more." It reminds you, one step still counts, and it keeps you aligned with your long-term vision, even when short-term comfort calls your name. Training the mind through routine. Discipline grows through structure. A clear routine gives your mind direction and reduces decision fatigue. When your day has rhythm, you spend less time debating and more time doing. Start by designing a few non-negotiables, small actions that anchor your day. Wake up at a consistent time. Dedicate a few minutes to reflection or gratitude. Spend focused time on your most important goal. These simple habits become the rails that guide your train forward. Over time, they become automatic, and that's when discipline transforms from effort into identity. The freedom in discipline. At first, discipline feels restrictive. It asks for structure when you want spontaneity. It asks for focus when you want comfort. But as time passes, you realize something unexpected. Discipline creates freedom. When you're disciplined with money, you gain financial freedom. When you're disciplined with health, you gain physical freedom. When you're disciplined with time, you gain peace of mind. Freedom isn't doing whatever you want. It's having the strength to do what's right, even when it's hard. That's real freedom, earned through discipline. Rebuilding discipline after failure. Everyone falls off track sometimes. You'll miss days. You'll make excuses. You'll break promises to yourself. That's part of the process. But the true test of discipline is not perfection. It's recovery. When you slip, don't dwell on guilt. Simply begin again. Restarting builds more strength than never failing. Each time you rise after breaking your routine, you prove that discipline lives deeper than habit. It lives in your will, turning discipline into identity. The highest level of discipline is when it becomes who you are. You no longer have to convince yourself to act. You act because it's part of your nature. You stop saying, "I'll try to be disciplined." You start saying, "I am disciplined." That shift in identity changes everything. It removes debate, excuses and hesitation. It builds momentum that doesn't depend on mood. The bridge becomes solid, unbreakable, because it's now part of you. Closing reflection. Discipline is not about control. It's about direction. It's the bridge that takes your dreams from thought to reality. It's the proof of commitment, the expression of consistency, and the foundation of every lasting success. You don't need to be the smartest or the most talented. You just need to stay steady when others stop. Because discipline quietly and patiently wins every time. So as you move forward, remember this. Your mind can imagine the path. Your heart can feel the desire. But only discipline can walk the bridge. And every step you take brings the future you've dreamed of into the world you can touch. Chapter 7. Focus and Flow. There is a rare state where work feels effortless, where time fades, distractions disappear, and your entire mind locks onto the task at hand. You move smoothly, think clearly, and create with ease. That state is called flow. Flow is not luck. It's not something reserved for geniuses or athletes. It's the result of focus, deep, deliberate, and disciplined attention. When you learn to direct your focus, you learn to enter flow, and when you master that, your performance, creativity, and peace reach a higher level. This chapter is about the power of focus, how it leads to flow, and how both shape the quality of your life. The cost of a scattered mind. In today's world, distraction is everywhere. Messages, notifications, noise, each one pulls your mind in a different direction. You start one task and jump to another before finishing. You scroll, switch, and shuffle constantly. But here's the truth. Your mind can't perform deeply when it's divided. Multitasking feels productive, but it weakens your power. Every time you switch focus, you lose momentum. You drain energy meant for creation and spend it on recovery. A scattered mind works harder, but achieves less. A focused mind works steadily, and achieves more. The discipline of attention. Focus is not just about removing distractions, it's about training your attention to stay where it matters most. Your mind is like a flashlight. Where you aim it determines what you see, and what you miss. If you keep moving it around, everything looks blurry. If you hold it steady, the picture becomes clear. That's the essence of focus, the ability to direct light on one target, long enough for results to form. To train your attention, start with intention. Each morning, ask yourself, what deserves my focus today? Not what's loud, not what's urgent, but what truly matters. That single question can reshape your entire day. The state of flow. When focus deepens, flow begins. Flow is a mental state where awareness and action merge. You stop thinking about the clock. You stop worrying about failure. You simply do. In flow, your skills match the challenge before you. You're stretched, but not overwhelmed. You're fully absorbed, yet completely calm. It feels like your mind and body are working in perfect harmony. Athletes call it being in the zone. Artists call it creative trance. Writers call it the river. Whatever the name, the experience is the same. Total presence. You can't force flow, but you can create the conditions for it. And the first condition is deep, uninterrupted focus. The enemy of flow. Distraction. Distraction is the enemy of flow. Every time you break concentration, you interrupt the rhythm your brain is building. Imagine trying to play a song but stopping after every few notes. You never reach the melody. The same is true for your work, your goals, and your thoughts. Flow demands immersion. You must give your full attention to one thing long enough for it to draw you in. That means turning off what competes for your mind. Notifications, noise, unnecessary conversations. These are small leaks that drain your focus. Protect your attention like you would protect a treasure. Because in truth, it is one. Finding your flow zone. Everyone's flow zone looks different. For some, it's early morning silence. For others, it's late night solitude. It could be a desk, a studio, a walk, or even a quiet cafe. What matters is the environment supports your mind's rhythm. Flow thrives in spaces of clarity. Keep your surroundings simple. Prepare your tools. Eliminate clutter. Then choose a task that challenges you. Not too easy, not too hard. When the difficulty matches your skill, the mind naturally enters flow. It loves the feeling of challenge balanced by competence. A real-world example. Think about a musician playing live. At first, they're nervous, focused on every note. But after a few minutes, something shifts. They stop thinking. They start feeling. The rhythm takes over, and the music seems to play itself. That's flow, the merging of mind and motion. It's not about control. It's about surrender to focused effort. You can experience that same feeling while designing, writing, solving problems, or learning new skills. The key is to stay long enough in the zone for the flow to find you. Focus as a daily practice. Focus is not a one-time decision. It's a daily practice. Each time you resist distraction, you sharpen your focus. Each time you finish what you start, you strengthen mental endurance. Try this simple routine. Choose one block of time each day for deep work. No phone, no multitasking, no interruptions. Even 30 minutes of pure focus trains your brain to enter flow faster. Over time, your concentration deepens, your work improves, and your stress decreases. When you build focus, you build peace. When you enter flow, you build fulfillment. The relationship between focus and peace. A scattered mind feels restless. It jumps between thoughts, tasks, and worries. It rarely finds calm. But a focused mind feels centered. When your attention is fully present, anxiety fades. You stop thinking about the past or the future. You become anchored in the now, the only place life truly happens. That's why focus isn't just about productivity. It's about inner peace. It's a way to quiet the noise and return to yourself. Reclaiming your attention. Your attention is your life. Where it goes, your energy follows. And where your energy goes, your results grow. The world will always try to claim your attention through endless media, messages and noise. But you have the power to reclaim it. You can decide what deserves your mental energy and what doesn't. You don't need to manage time. You need to manage focus. Time is constant. Focus is choice, and that choice determines the quality of your days. Closing reflection. Focus is the doorway to flow. Flow is the state where your potential meets expression. Together they form one of life's greatest powers, the ability to give yourself fully to the moment. When your mind is steady, your work becomes art. When your attention is whole, your life feels meaningful. You don't chase purpose, you experience it, right here, right now. So build the habit of focus, protect it, strengthen it, and when flow arrives, don't force it, follow it. Because when you learn to live in flow, effort becomes joy, and achievement becomes natural. In that space you no longer push life forward, you move with it. And that truly is mastery of the inner game. Chapter 8. The Power of Belief in Action. Every great achievement begins twice. First in the mind, and then in the world. Before anything becomes real, it starts as belief. Belief is the ignition that starts every journey. But belief alone is not enough. It must be combined with movement, with proof, with persistence. That combination is what turns ideas into impact. This chapter is about the power of belief in action. How faith, when expressed through effort, becomes the force that shapes your destiny. Belief, the foundation of all progress. Belief is more than a thought. It's the inner certainty that something is possible. It's the quiet voice that says, I can, even when evidence says you can't. It's the energy that keeps you trying when logic says to stop. Without belief, talent goes unused. Without belief, knowledge sits idle. Belief activates potential. It tells the mind, move, try, begin. But belief that stays trapped inside is wasted power. It must take form through action. The bridge between faith and evidence. Many people wait to act until they feel confident. They say, once I believe fully, I'll begin. But belief doesn't work that way. Confidence doesn't come before the action. It comes from the action. You don't wait for proof to believe. You act on belief to create the proof. That's the bridge between faith and evidence. Every time you act on what you believe, even in small ways, your mind gathers proof that it's possible. One small success becomes confidence. That confidence fuels greater effort, and effort turns belief into momentum. Belief grows through evidence, and evidence begins with a single step. A story of faith in motion. There was once a man who dreamed of starting his own company. He had the skills but doubted his ability to succeed. For years he waited for the right time, the perfect plans, but the moment never came. One day a mentor told him, "You'll never feel ready. Start where you are." So he did. He took one small action, designed one product, made one call, sent one proposal. The first week nothing happened. The second week one client responded. The third week his work began to grow. What changed? Not his talent, not the world. His belief turned into action, and that action created proof. He didn't wait to feel certain. He acted his way into certainty. That's the power of belief in motion, the science behind belief. Modern research in psychology reveals something remarkable. The brain doesn't just respond to external reality. It responds to what you believe about reality. When you believe you can improve, your brain literally works harder and learns faster. When you believe you're capable, you find creative solutions that didn't appear before. Your mind filters the world through your expectations. In other words, you don't just see life as it is, you see it as you are. Change your beliefs, and you change what your mind allows you to see. That's why taking action is so powerful. It gives the brain new evidence to believe something better. Belief without action. The trap of waiting. Belief without action becomes imagination. It feels inspiring, but creates no results. It's the dream that never leaves the notebook. It's the plan that never meets reality. Many people stay trapped here. They believe in potential, but they never activate it. They say, "I believe I can succeed," but they never move towards success. Over time, the mind learns the opposite, that belief without follow-through leads to disappointment. The only cure is motion. Action transforms belief from a feeling into a force. Even small steps matter. They tell the brain, "This is who I am now." And with repetition, belief stops being something you think. It becomes something you know. The momentum of faith. Momentum begins the moment you stop overthinking and start moving. Belief creates direction. Action creates motion. And together, they create momentum. Momentum doesn't require perfection. It only requires consistency. Even imperfect action builds confidence because it proves one simple truth: you are doing it. Once you see progress, even a little, belief grows naturally. You don't have to force it. You just have to feed it with movement, turning fear into fuel. Every time you act on belief, fear will try to stop you. It will whisper, "What if you fail?" But fear is not a sign to stop. It's proof that you're stepping into something meaningful. When you feel fear, don't freeze. Translate it into focus. Say to yourself, "This matters. That's why I'm nervous." Then act anyway. Courage is not the absence of fear. It's faith expressed through movement. And each time you move forward in spite of fear, belief becomes stronger than doubt. Action as a daily ritual. Belief thrives on routine. Feed it every day with small deliberate action. Write one paragraph toward your book. Make one call toward your business. Practice one skill toward your craft. These small acts become daily proof that your belief is real. Over time they compound into visible results. And those results reinforce your faith in yourself and your path. Your future is built in these quiet moments of follow-through. Faith, effort, and alignment. When belief and effort align, life begins to flow differently. Doors open, opportunities appear, people respond to your energy. It's not magic, it's alignment. You've trained your mind and your actions to move in the same direction. No more conflict between what you want and what you do. You've become congruent, and that's a powerful state to live in. Closing reflection. Belief is the seed. Action is the water. Together, they create growth. You can't wait for perfect confidence before you move. You build confidence by moving. You build belief by proving it true through effort. Remember this truth. You don't attract success by wishing for it. You build it by believing and acting as if it's already on its way. Every great achiever lives by one simple principle. Act on your belief and the world will rise to meet it. So don't wait for the right time. The right time begins the moment you take the first step, and each step forward strengthens the bridge between faith and fulfillment, the bridge called belief in action. Chapter 9. Overcoming the inner enemy. Every person carries two opponents. One lives outside, the challenges, the critics, the setbacks. The other lives within, the doubt, the fear, the voice that whispers, "You can't." And of the two, the inner enemy is far more powerful, because no outside force can defeat you unless the inner one first surrenders. This chapter is about that silent battle, the one fought in your thoughts, your emotions, and your self-image, the fight between the person you are and the person you're meant to become, the voice of resistance. The inner enemy rarely shouts. It speaks softly, in ways that sound reasonable. It says, "You're not ready." It says, "You're not enough." It says, "What if you fail?" At first, it feels like caution, but in truth, it's resistance. Fear disguised as logic. Every time you try to move forward, resistance appears. The closer you get to progress, the louder it becomes. It's not there to destroy you. It's there to test you, to ask, how much do you want this? Once you understand that resistance is a signal, not an obstacle, everything changes. It means you're moving in the right direction. Doubt, the master of disguise. Doubt is clever. It doesn't tell you, stop growing. It simply says, be realistic. It doesn't tell you, give up. It whispers, maybe later. It convinces you to stay comfortable while convincing you that you're being smart. But growth and comfort rarely exist together. The inner enemy wants safety. Your potential wants strength. And strength only comes from stepping into discomfort, over and over again. The truth is, doubt never disappears completely, but it loses its grip when you stop listening to it as truth and start seeing it as a sign that you're stretching your limits. The power of awareness. The first step to defeating the inner enemy is awareness. You can't overcome what you don't notice. Start by paying attention to your self-talk when things get difficult. What do you say to yourself when you're challenged? When you fail? When you're alone? Those words reveal which voice is leading, the voice of growth or the voice of fear. Once you identify the inner enemy's language, you can replace it. Instead of saying, "I can't handle this," say, "I'm learning to handle this." Instead of, "I always mess up," say, "I'm still improving." Small shifts in language weaken the enemy's power and strengthen your will. The illusion of perfection. The inner enemy feeds on perfectionism. It tells you that unless it's flawless, it's not worth trying. But perfection is just fear wearing a mask. It keeps you waiting for the perfect plan, the perfect timing, the perfect version of yourself. But progress doesn't come from perfection. It comes from movement. You don't need to be perfect to begin. You begin to become better. When you release the need to be perfect, you silence one of the inner enemy's favorite weapons. You learn to value growth over image, effort over appearance, and progress over pride. A battle of identity. The inner enemy is not an external force. It's a part of you that has learned to survive by staying small. It's built from past pain, past failures, and old stories you've outgrown. But it doesn't know that yet. Every time you choose courage, that part of you weakens. Every time you follow through, it loses ground. And every time you act in alignment with your higher self, the balance shifts in your favor. The battle isn't between good and evil, it's between your past identity and your future potential, and only one can lead, turning the enemy into a teacher. The goal isn't to destroy the inner enemy, it's to understand it. That voice of fear once existed to protect you. It warned you from failure, from rejection, from pain. It meant well. It just never learned the difference between growth and danger. So when fear speaks, don't fight it blindly. Listen to what it's trying to protect. Then thank it, and move forward anyway. By turning fear into feedback, you transform the enemy into a teacher. And teachers, even difficult ones, are meant to help you grow. Action as the antidote. Nothing quiets the inner enemy faster than action. You can't outthink self-doubt. You must outwork it. Each time you act, despite fear, you train your mind to trust yourself. The voice of doubt fades when you have evidence of your strength, and the only way to gather that evidence is by moving forward. Courage is not built in thought, it's built in motion. Even the smallest step toward your goal is a declaration. I am stronger than my fear. The discipline of belief. Overcoming the inner enemy is not a one-time event. It's a daily practice. Every day you will hear that voice, and every day you must choose which one to follow. Belief is a discipline. It's not about feeling confident all the time. It's about holding faith, even when your emotions waver. You keep showing up. You keep taking the next step. And with each act of discipline, you prove to yourself that fear may visit, but it no longer drives. A real example of mastery. Think about an athlete who has lost confidence after repeated defeats. Their body still knows the movements, but their mind whispers, "What if I lose again?" That whisper tightens their grip, slows their reaction, clouds their focus. The turning point comes when they decide to trust again, not blindly, but through action. They train harder. They rebuild small wins. They begin to move without hesitation. Their outer success returns not because they discovered new talent, but because they defeated the inner enemy that once held their potential hostage. Closing reflection. The greatest victories in life are not won in front of crowds. They are won in silence. In the unseen battle between fear and faith, between hesitation and courage. The inner enemy never truly disappears, but it can be mastered. When you act with awareness, courage and consistency, you become stronger than the voice that once controlled you. Remember this truth. You are not your fear. You are the strength that rises in spite of it. You are not your doubt. You are the decision that moves forward anyway. The inner enemy only wins when you stop trying. So keep showing up. Keep moving. Keep believing. Because the moment you do, the enemy inside you begins to lose its power, and the warrior within begins to rise. Chapter 10. Resilience. Rising after the fall. Falling is a part of life. Failure is a part of growth. No one escapes it. No matter how strong, wise, or prepared you are, there will be moments when you stumble, when your plans collapse, and when life knocks you to the ground. But here's the truth. Falling doesn't define you. Rising does. Resilience is the ability to rise again after the fall. It's not the absence of pain, but the decision to keep going despite it. It's the strength that comes not from avoiding hardship, but from walking through it and coming out stronger. This chapter is about that strength, the inner force that helps you rebuild when life feels broken, and the quiet courage that keeps you moving when nothing seems certain. The reality of falling. Life will test you. It will humble you. It will take you to your knees at times. And in those moments it's easy to believe you've failed permanently. But the fall is never the end. It's the teacher. It's the moment that strips away illusion and reveals truth. It shows you who you are without the masks, without the momentum, without the comfort of control. Falling forces reflection. It breaks pride, but it builds depth. It hurts, but it purifies. The greatest people you admire didn't avoid the fall. They mastered the rise. Pain as the pathway. When life hurts, your first instinct is to escape it, to numb it, to ignore it, or to pretend it doesn't matter. But pain has a purpose. It carries information. Pain tells you where growth is needed. It points to what matters most. It exposes what's weak so it can be rebuilt stronger. If you run from pain, you also run from power. But if you face it, you transform it. Resilience begins not when you avoid discomfort, but when you lean into it and ask, what is this teaching me? Every setback contains a seed of wisdom. Every loss contains a lesson that prepares you for the next victory. The mindset of resilience. Resilience is not about pretending everything is fine. It's about accepting that things are hard, and deciding to grow through them anyway. The resilient mind doesn't say, this can't be happening. It says, this is happening, but I will find a way through it. It shifts from resistance to adaptation. It looks at obstacles and says, I can use this. Resilient people aren't born, they're built. Built through repetition, reflection, and recovery. Each challenge becomes a training ground for emotional strength. You can't build resilience in comfort. You build it in the moments that test everything you believe about yourself. A real story of renewal. There was once an artist whose entire studio burned to the ground. Years of work gone in a single night. When people came to comfort him, he said something remarkable. I'll start again tomorrow. The fire may have destroyed my work, but it has not destroyed my ability. And he did. He rebuilt, painted again, and created pieces even more profound than before. That's resilience. The power to rebuild not from what you lost, but from what remains within you. The 3 pillars of resilience. Resilience stands on 3 pillars. Acceptance, adaptation, and action. Acceptance means facing reality without denial. It's saying this happened. It hurts, but it's real. Acceptance doesn't mean giving up. It means letting go of the illusion that things should have been different. Adaptation means adjusting your mindset and strategy. If the path is blocked, you find another one. Resilient people don't cling to the old. They evolve toward the new. Action means moving forward, even in small ways. You don't wait for strength to return. You build it through motion. Each step, no matter how small, becomes a declaration. I am still here. Together, these 3 pillars form the structure that holds you steady during life's storms. The role of perspective. Resilience is as much about perception as it is about endurance. What you tell yourself about the fall determines how you rise. You can say, I failed, and stop. Or you can say, I learned, and continue. The situation may be painful, but your interpretation gives it meaning. Change the story, and you change your strength. What if the setback wasn't punishment, but preparation? What if the fall wasn't failure, but foundation? That shift in meaning turns defeat into development. Emotional recovery. Resilience isn't just mental toughness. It's emotional healing. It's allowing yourself to feel what you feel, but not letting those feelings rule your direction. Cry, if you must. Rest if you must, but never quit on yourself. Recovery is not a sign of weakness. It's part of the process. Even warriors need to breathe before they fight again. The key is to rest with intention, not retreat with resignation. Healing is movement, too. It's the quiet rebuilding of strength from the inside out. Faith in the long game. Resilience thrives on faith, the belief that no matter how dark it gets, light will return. It's trusting that the fall is not the final chapter. There will be seasons of doubt and delay. There will be days when progress feels invisible. But resilience keeps you anchored in the long view, that what you're becoming is greater than what you're going through. Faith doesn't remove pain. It gives it purpose. The inner dialogue of the resilient. The language you use in struggle shapes your endurance. Resilient people speak differently. They say, "This is hard, but I can handle it." They say, "I've been through worse and came back stronger." They remind themselves that endurance is proof of progress. Your words create your strength. Every time you speak courage to yourself, your inner game grows tougher, calmer, wiser. Closing reflection. Resilience is not about never falling. It's about rising every time you do. It's knowing that even when everything seems broken, you still hold the power to rebuild. Remember this truth. The fall tests your limits, but the rise reveals your character. Every time you stand up, you show life that you are greater than what tried to break you. You may bend, but you won't break. You may stumble, but you won't stay down. Because the resilient don't rise once, they rise every time. So keep standing, keep learning, keep believing. Because every time you rise, you become proof that strength isn't born from perfection, it's born from perseverance. And that truly is how you win the inner game. Chapter 11. Alignment. Living what you think and believe. There's a rare kind of peace that comes when what you think, what you say, and what you do are in harmony. That peace is called alignment. Alignment is the unity between your inner world and your outer world. It's when your beliefs, your actions, and your values walk in the same direction. It's integrity in motion. It's the point where your thoughts stop fighting your behavior, and your life begins to flow with purpose. In this chapter, we explore how alignment creates inner strength, credibility, and a deep sense of fulfillment, the kind that cannot be faked, forced, or borrowed. The cost of misalignment. You can feel misalignment even when you can't explain it. It's the quiet frustration that lingers when you're living in contradiction. When you say you value health, but neglect your body. When you say you believe in growth, but resist change. When you preach honesty, but hide from truth. The human mind cannot thrive in conflict with itself. When your thoughts and actions move in opposite directions, tension builds, you lose energy, you lose clarity, you lose trust in yourself. Misalignment drains strength from within. It's like driving a car with the wheels turned slightly against each other. You can move forward, but you're burning energy that should be used for progress. Integrity as inner strength. Alignment begins with integrity. Integrity is not about perfection. It's about consistency. It's doing what's right, even when no one is watching. It's keeping promises to yourself, especially when they're inconvenient. When your actions match your principles, you gain power, because deep down you know you can trust yourself. You stop living for approval, and start living with authenticity. People often think integrity is about moral goodness, but it's also about psychological strength. It means your inner voice and your outer actions speak the same language. And that unity creates confidence, the calm, grounded kind that doesn't need validation. The conflict within. Most internal stress doesn't come from pressure, it comes from contradiction. When you want one thing but do another, your subconscious feels the imbalance. You might call it anxiety or guilt, but it's really disconnection. You cannot experience true peace while betraying what you believe. That's why alignment is so powerful. It heals the internal divide. It reunites your intention with your behavior, and that unity restores focus, energy, and peace. The outer world becomes simpler when your inner world is clear, living in agreement with your values. To live in alignment, you first need to know what you stand for. Values are not slogans, they're standards that guide your daily choices. If you value honesty, speak truth even when it costs you. If you value discipline, act with consistency even when it's difficult. If you value growth, choose discomfort over ease. Every time you honor your values through action, you strengthen your identity. You're telling yourself, I mean what I say. That self-trust is the foundation of every lasting success. A story of realignment. There was once a successful executive who felt empty despite her achievements. She had everything society celebrated: money, recognition, position, but inside she felt out of place. One evening she asked herself a simple but honest question: am I living the life I believe in, or the life I've been told to chase? That question changed everything. She realized her actions no longer matched her values, so she realigned, changed her work, simplified her lifestyle, reconnected with purpose. She didn't gain peace by having more. She found it by living in truth. Alignment doesn't always look glamorous. Sometimes it means letting go of what impresses others to return to what fulfills you. Bridging thought and behavior. Every time you act on what you believe, you close the gap between thought and reality. Every time you speak truth instead of comfort, you bridge the space between intention and integrity. This bridge between who you say you are and how you live defines your character. You can't think your way to alignment. You must act your way into it. When you consistently choose what aligns with your core, the world around you begins to respond. You attract people who respect authenticity. You find peace in your own company. You stop chasing and start becoming. The alignment test. Here's a simple test. At the end of each day, ask yourself 3 questions. Did I act according to my values today? Did I speak what I truly believe? Did my choices move me closer to who I want to become? If the answer is yes, even to one question, you're on the path. If not, adjust tomorrow. Alignment is not about never drifting. It's about noticing quickly when you do and returning to your center. The calm that comes from alignment. When your life is aligned, you feel lighter. There's no need to pretend, no need to impress, no need to chase approval. You move with quiet confidence because your inside and outside match. That calm is power. It doesn't come from external success. It comes from self-respect, from knowing that you are living in truth, even when no one is watching. Alignment gives you a steady rhythm, the kind that carries you through chaos without losing balance. When others break under pressure, you stay grounded because your strength comes from within, not from circumstance. When realignment is necessary, there will be times when life pulls you off balance. You'll take shortcuts. You'll compromise. You'll realize you've drifted from who you wanted to be. Don't judge yourself for it. Realignment is part of the journey. Even the strongest lose direction sometimes. The key is to notice, pause and return. Ask, where did I start moving out of truth? Then make the smallest adjustment that brings you back. One honest decision can restore alignment faster than you think. Realignment is not failure. It's renewal, closing reflection. Alignment is where the inner game becomes visible. It's the point where belief meets behavior, where faith meets follow-through, and where purpose meets practice. When your thoughts, words, and actions align, your life stops feeling divided. You no longer need to force motivation. It flows naturally. You no longer search for direction. It reveals itself. Remember this truth. Power is not in saying the right things. It's in living them. Success is not in appearing perfect. It's in being authentic. When you live in alignment, peace replaces pressure, clarity replaces confusion, and strength replaces struggle. Because in that unity, between what you think, what you believe, and what you do, you finally meet the truest version of yourself. Chapter 12. The Quiet Confidence of Mastery. True mastery is not loud. It doesn't seek attention. It doesn't need to prove itself. It moves with calm assurance. A quiet confidence that comes from years of growth, repetition, and self-trust. Mastery is not perfection. It's peace. It's knowing that you've done the work, learned the lessons, and earned the right to be steady in any situation. This chapter explores that stillness, the confidence that doesn't shout, the strength that doesn't demand, and the wisdom that no longer needs to compete. The journey, not the moment. People often think mastery arrives suddenly, a breakthrough, a victory, a final success. But mastery doesn't appear in a moment. It's built over time. It's the sum of small, consistent efforts that compound quietly behind the scenes. The master doesn't chase recognition. They chase refinement. They improve one detail at a time, one mistake at a time, one day at a time, and somewhere along the way, what was once effort becomes instinct. Mastery is not a single skill. It's a relationship with growth itself. It's falling in love with the process more than the prize. The calm that replaces noise. In the early stages of growth, you crave validation. You want people to see your progress, to recognize your worth. But as you evolve, something shifts. The need for approval fades. You no longer seek to impress. You seek to express. That's the quiet confidence of mastery. It's walking into any room without needing to prove your value. It's trusting your preparation more than your presentation. It's knowing that external noise can't touch internal stability. True mastery is silent because it no longer competes. It understands that excellence speaks for itself, and always will. The power of repetition. Repetition is not boredom. It's refinement. Masters understand that the basics never stop mattering. They do the same things over and over, but with deeper awareness each time. The beginner says, "I've done this before." The master says, "I can still do this better." Repetition builds rhythm, rhythm builds flow, and flow creates mastery. Every skill, mental or physical, follows the same pattern. Repetition turns effort into ease, and ease turns ability into art. That's why masters aren't faster. They're smoother. They move through life with precision born of patience. Ego versus excellence. The ego craves recognition. Excellence craves improvement. The ego says, "I've arrived." Mastery says, "I'm still learning." You can tell the difference by the energy. Ego is restless. Mastery is calm. Ego speaks loudly. Mastery listens deeply. The quiet confidence of mastery comes from humility. The understanding that you're always a student, no matter how skilled you become. The greatest teachers never stop learning, and the greatest leaders never stop listening. A story of the quiet master. There was once a craftsman who made violins for 50 years. His instruments were known for their purity of sound, yet he never advertised. When asked for his secret, he smiled and said, "I just keep removing what doesn't belong." Every day, he refined the smallest details, the curve of the wood, the pressure of the strings, the smoothness of the finish. He didn't rush. He didn't compete. He simply worked with devotion. His art became world-renowned, not because he sought fame, but because his focus was pure. That's mastery, the grace of doing one thing with such care that it becomes timeless. Inner mastery, the true goal. External mastery, skills, achievements, performance, is only half the story. The deeper form is inner mastery, the ability to control your mind, manage emotion, and stay centered regardless of outcome. When you master your emotions, chaos cannot shake you. When you master your thoughts, distraction cannot control you. When you master yourself, the world no longer intimidates you. This kind of mastery can't be measured by trophies or titles. It's measured by peace, by how calm you remain under pressure, how kind you stay under stress, and how consistent you are when no one's watching. The discipline behind grace, the grace you see in masters, the ease, the flow, the confidence, is built on discipline. They've failed more times than others have tried. They've faced doubt and kept going. They've chosen practice over comfort, patience over speed, process over outcome. From the outside, mastery looks effortless. From the inside, it's the result of years of effort no one saw. That's why true mastery never boasts. It doesn't need to. It's earned its silence. The gift of detachment. At a certain level, mastery teaches detachment. You stop obsessing over results because you know effort always produces return. Maybe not immediately, but inevitably. You begin to trust timing. You stop forcing things. You let your preparation meet opportunity naturally. When you detach from control, you allow flow to guide you, and that's when performance reaches its highest level, when the mind is free, yet deeply focused. Detachment doesn't mean indifference. It means confidence in your process. Mastery as service. Masters often become quiet because they realize mastery is not about them. It's about what they can give. Their excellence becomes service. Their lessons become guidance. Their work becomes legacy. They teach not by speaking, but by living. They inspire, not by perfection, but by presence. The quiet confidence of mastery says, "Watch my example, not my words." And in doing so it lifts others higher. Mastery is not the end of learning. It's the beginning of wisdom. It's not loud. It's not dramatic. It's calm, steady, and clear. You know you've reached mastery when peace replaces pressure, when humility replaces ego, when your worth no longer depends on applause but on awareness. Remember this truth. The true master is not the one who knows everything. It's the one who remains teachable, not the one who stands above others, but the one who stands fully within themselves. When you reach that place, when confidence becomes quiet and effort becomes art, you'll understand the essence of the inner game. Victory was never outside of you. It was always within. And that quiet, unwavering strength, that is mastery. Conclusion. Winning starts within. In the end, all victories are reflections of one truth. Winning starts within. The greatest battles you will ever fight are not against other people, but against your own doubt, distraction, fear, and hesitation. The real journey of success begins not in the outer world, but in the silent chambers of the mind, in your thoughts, your focus, and your beliefs. You've walked through this book step by step, exploring how the inner world shapes every outer result. You've seen how awareness opens your eyes to truth, how discipline bridges the gap between vision and action, how belief fuels effort, and how resilience turns defeat into growth. You've learned that mastery isn't noise, it's quiet confidence and alignment. Living what you believe is the highest form of strength. The inner game defines the outer game. Every achievement, every transformation, Every success you see around you, it all starts the same way, with a thought, a decision, and the courage to follow through. You don't rise because the world changes. You rise because you do. You don't win because circumstances are easy. You win because your spirit becomes stronger than circumstance. When the mind is disciplined, emotions balanced and purpose clear, the outer game takes care of itself. That's the secret champions understand. They know that the mind leads, and life follows. The power of consistency. Winning the inner game is not about grand moments. It's about small, quiet victories. Choosing focus over distraction, persistence over excuse, and growth over comfort. Every morning you wake up and choose to show up again, you win. Every time you silence doubt and act with belief, you win. Every time you align your actions with your purpose, you win. And those small, consistent wins, they build the foundation for everything that lasts. Becoming your own coach. You are the voice that leads you. No one can play the inner game for you, so become your own coach. Encourage yourself with the same kindness you'd offer a friend. Hold yourself accountable with the same firmness you'd expect from a mentor. When you begin to guide yourself with both compassion and discipline, you stop chasing external validation and start building internal power. That's when the game shifts, from trying to prove something to becoming something, falling and rising again. There will still be falls. You'll stumble, doubt, and lose rhythm at times. But remember, every fall is a part of the climb. Resilience is built through recovery. Don't measure your progress by how perfectly you walk. Measure it by how quickly you rise. Every rise strengthens your spirit. Every recovery deepens your confidence. And over time you realize, it was never about avoiding failure. It was about learning how to rise higher, each time it happened. Living from the inside out. The purpose of mastering the inner game is not just success, it's freedom. Freedom from overthinking. Freedom from insecurity. Freedom from living a life that looks right, but feels wrong. When your inner world is strong, outer circumstances lose control over you. You stop reacting and start responding. You stop chasing happiness and start creating it. Winning within means living from a place of peace, clarity and conviction, no matter what's happening around you. The true victory, the ultimate victory, is not over others. It's over yesterday's version of yourself. It's waking up each day more aware, more disciplined, more grateful, and more aligned with your purpose. It's knowing that the life you live now is a reflection of the choices you've made, and that you hold the power to choose differently at any moment. You don't need to wait for permission. You don't need to wait for the perfect time. The moment you decide to master your mind, you begin to master your life. Closing words. So remember this truth. Success begins in silence. Confidence begins in consistency. Peace begins in purpose. When your thoughts, emotions and actions move as one, when your inner world and your outer world finally agree, that's when you start to live, not just exist. Winning doesn't begin when others see your progress. It begins the moment you decide that growth will come from within. Because the inner game is not something you play once. It's something you live every day, and every day you practice it. Every time you choose clarity over chaos, discipline over comfort, faith over fear, you are already winning, quietly, steadily, from the inside out.